very much, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the motion as listed in the order paper. Mr. Speaker, this House was constituted in order to bring power back into the hands of local people so that we could mould our own future. A future free from fear, a future founded in respect, a future where the rule of law took the place of the rule of terror, a future where our communities could possibly come together in partnership, showing tolerance for our differences and embracing dignified compromise. Some of us have even dared to dream for over 40 years of a civilised society where that might be possible, and we dared to hope that we were moving in the right direction. After all, we have the local executive taking charge of our regional affairs, with many people showing leadership as we strive to achieve our aspirations. But a cold and cruel shadow was cast over those hopes this summer when the ugly, ugly face of sectarianism showed itself outside St Patrick's Church in North Belfast, Donegall Street on the 12th of July, in the form of the Conway Young Volunteers flute band. The Minister for Social Development, who represents the area, was asked if he could condemn the actions of this band. He failed to do so. He ducked and he dived, and in fact, in the end, he justified it. He said they were simply playing a pop tune, that it wasn't really provocative, that it was just outside an empty building, that there was nobody there to be provoked. On August the 25th, that same band joined with a number of other bands to defy a legally binding determination by the Parades Commission that they should not play music walking past St Patrick's Church. The Minister was asked to condemn this illegal activity, and he failed to do so again. Instead, he tried to justify these defiant acts of criminal disobedience away as some sort of minor civil disobedience. Mr. Speaker, when Nelson McCausland became a minister, he signed up to the Ministerial Code, which includes a pledge of office and a code of conduct. In those, he promised to uphold the law and order and promote good community relations. We contend that his failures to condemn these actions on these two occasions, and we accept that he condemned the violence that arose out of them belatedly, these failures constitute a failure to uphold law and order, promote good community relations, and he must face the consequences. Members on the benches opposite are very keen to trumpet an unwavering commitment to the rule of law when it comes to rioting or provocative behaviour on the part of others. And they're right to do so. So do we. But justice is based on balance, and we must be brave enough to condemn the provocative and illegal actions among our own communities and among our friends and associates. And that is where the members opposite fall down, at least when it comes to the parading issue. Let's be clear. Whether we like the determination of the Parades Commission or not, and members in all parts of the House have had cause to disagree at various times. In some instances, we fervently disagree with them in the past. But they're the law. They're binding. And they're the only regulatory body for parades that we have. And therefore, to break their determination is breaking the law. And we don't just take my word for it. I want to take you back to a quotation from the First Minister himself here present. Speaking on the 5th of September, he said on camera in response to a question as to whether he condemned the breach, "I condemn," he said, "the decision by the Parades Commission, but when they take those decisions, they become a legal requirement." The legal requirement, Mr. Speaker, is a requirement under the rule of law. Mr. McCausland did not condemn that breach of the requirement. He did not visibly uphold the rule of law, and in that he broke the ministerial pledge of office. The behaviour of bands and their supporters on the 12th and on Black Saturday was triumphalist, provocative, and moved far beyond any legitimate celebration of culture into an ugly display of purported cultural supremacy. Representatives of one tradition who feel that the legal determinations don't apply to them and that somehow or other they're above the law. It's this type of action that pits one community against the other and that, Mr. Speaker, does not lead to improving community relations. Mr. McCausland did not condemn those actions. He did not promote good community relations, and he broke the Ministerial Code. And even more than that, for a long time, until the PSNI advised him to take it down, he put at risk a human rights activist and a parade monitor by publishing his private address on the blog. These are not the actions of someone keen to serve the whole community. The prima facie case against the minister is clear and unambiguous. He has a duty to keep the promise he made when he took office, and he has failed in that duty. He failed to condemn those breaches, and more than that, he tried to excuse them, he tried to justify them, he tried to condone them, and he hid behind the deeply disingenuous defence that it was some sort of minor civil disobedience. This was disobedience, Mr. Speaker, all right, but it was anything but civil. It was a display of contempt, of disrespect, and a celebration of sectarianism, and clearly was illegal disobedience. Mr. McCausland tries to dismiss our action and our questioning of him by saying the SDLP has no right to object to civil disobedience because we were born out of civil disobedience. He's right. We were born out of the civil rights movement, which swept across the globe in the 60s. Men and women everywhere fighting for justice, for fair play, for respect, an end to gerrymandering, an end to the job discrimination, an end to housing discrimination, all of which were propagated by a discredited regime sitting in this House. We stand by our record. Civil disobedience was sought for basic human rights. It was not illegal disobedience. No one, Mr. Speaker, could condemn those who campaigned at Caledon or marched across the north for decency, for human decency and respect. They weren't marching for division. They wanted a sense of fairness, not supremacy, to prevail. But you can condemn the actions of the Conway Band on the 12th, and you can condemn those who broke the law, broke the lawful determinations of the Parade Commission on Black Saturday. Make no mistake, this was not civil disobedience. This was a criminal act, criminal disobedience. The minister is a theologically minded man. He may be aware of the concept and some biblical teachings of the sins of omission. And that's what we're asking him to make atonement for today, because he has shown that, however noisily the DUP has shouted over many issues in the last 40 years, inactions often speak louder than words. In doing so, we have appealed for broad support. We're pleased to bring Sinn Féin on board after a long period of discussion, and we'll be pleased to walk through a lobby today with them and with the Green Party and others. Likewise, though they disappointingly didn't sign the motion before the House today, we're delighted that indications from the Alliance Party are that they are intended to take a principled stand on this too. To others in the chamber, Mr. Speaker, let me say, we're not trying to score points off an individual or a party. That profits nobody. And silly schoolboy giggling doesn't help us either. We're not playing petty politics here. This is a serious matter. This is a very, very serious matter. The dignity of this House, and the dignity of our executive and our individual ministers there is at stake. We're not, as the minister would have it, pursuing a narrow sectarian agenda. No, sorry, Mr. Speaker. The minister doesn't have to look to me. The minister only has to look at his DUP ministerial colleagues, Mr. Poots, Mrs. Foster, Mr. Wilson, and indeed the First Minister himself. They are not guilty of this stupidity. Yeah, thank you. Parades. Mr. Speaker, this is a blatant breach of the Ministerial Code of Conduct and the Pledge of Office, and I move the motion. I move the motion.